If you ever try to simulate water in Houdini, you know it can be a pain. Crashes, insane RAM usage, and endless waiting. So it's clear that we need to approach a close-up shot like this efficiently by working in layers that build on top of each other. And that's exactly what I want to show you in this video. The shot started in Solaris, where I laid out a small environment using my Megascans browser. I went for an African savanna pond scene set around a rhino using a free camera and animation from Creature Station. You can find the link to it in the video description. It's free. Since I forced myself to work with the provided camera animation, it was easy setting up the environment using plants, rocks, and some trees. Once the layout was done, I brought everything into SOPs to prepare it for simulation, mainly to convert it into colliders and organize the geo. The Rhino came in as an Alembic file, which I cleaned and set up for collisions. I also use it as a bounding object for later flip simulations around its body. Alright, now let's create some fun water simulations. I started with a low-res flip tank to get the general motion for the whole area. After that, I ran a second sim at higher resolution, focused just on the Rhino's area. This gave me detailed splashes and surface breakup where it matters the most. I merged both sims and blended them into one clean surface, keeping performance manageable while still getting detail in the important parts. Because the full sim area was too big to work efficiently, I VDB clipped the surfaces before merging, based on the camera's frustum. This saves a lot of RAM, disk space, and also reduced loading times during rendering. By the way, if you want to follow along with the video, or you want to explore my scene setup in full detail and in your own pace, you can find the Houdini file for this shot on my Gumroad shop in the video description. But keep in mind that I can't distribute the scene with the high-res Megascans assets, which is why I only included the poorly reduced collider geometry. This way you will be able to run the sims perfectly fine. Okay, back to the video. The splashes still felt a bit soft, so I ran another upres, this time just for the fast moving areas. I filtered the points by velocity and used those as a pop source in a separate flip sim, with even smaller particle separation. This added sharp, detailed splashes right where the action happens. The higher point count allowed me to match it with a smaller p-scale, which helped me preserve fine surface detail without making the mesh look noisy. Now, with the main effects done, I focused on integrating them better into the scene. I painted a static wet map onto the Rhino to push the specular and darken some areas, mainly the feet, belly and the mouth, places that would realistically be wet. The movement is so fast and chaotic that I didn't feel like simulating the wet map was necessary. Just implying that the Rhino had already been splashing around for a while was enough. I also simulated some dripping water. Small trails coming off the mouth and belly, and to make them feel more natural, I added a bit of surface tension so they stick to the body slightly before dropping. Going back to Solaris, I shaded everything and set up the look development. The Rhino and the environment already had materials from the Megascans browser and the provided asset. The water mesh used the ocean procedural lob, which is fantastic, and it adds high frequency detail at render time using an ocean spectrum. To give the turbulent areas a backlit, foamy look, I used the vorticity attribute to drive the subsurface scattering. This helped to get this simulation of light shining through the thin water surfaces and made the splashes feel more alive. I rendered the scene in layers to keep things modular and to avoid full re-renders in case something goes wrong. There were separate passes for the Rhino, the water, the environment, and something I call a cheap beauty pass. This pass includes everything, but uses an unlit Material X shader to render fast, around 2 to 3 seconds per frame. This pass has everything inside of it and gives me proper alpha, depth and motion vectors without the full shading cost. This leads us right into compositing. In comp, I added the sky, did some color tweaks and added a bit of depth haze in the background. Then I applied depth of field, lens distortion and a subtle glow. Just enough to give the shot some photographic feel. Alright, that's the full process behind this scene, from layout to simulation to final compositing. Let me know if there's a part you'd like to break down in more detail, and thanks for watching. Bye!